This is a story about fact-checking the fact-checkers, the self-appointed guardians of truth and integrity that often have something to hide. In reality, they're narrative managers for the powerful. On December 21st, a conservative podcast host named Liz Wheeler tweeted that a Texas man who died from COVID was fully vaccinated. The next day, a reporter named Nate Hansen, who works for a self-described fact-checking operation called VerifyTHIS, published an article claiming to debunk Wheeler's tweet. His article is titled, "No, the first Omicron death reported in the US was not a fully vaccinated person." According to the Public Health Department in Harris County, Texas, where the man died, he was unvaccinated. However, the vaccination record systems are unreliable, and there's no national registry. Records are only collected at the state level, and pharmacies are not even required to participate in the registries. The CDC says pharmacists that are interested in participating should do so, so vaccinations can easily go unregistered. Not only that, the vaccination databases are prone to error. According to a December 2021 audit from the Department of Veteran Affairs Office of Inspector General, vaccination data in key systems were inconsistent and contained inaccuracies due to inadequate validation and user error. So we can't take Harris County Public Health or Nate Hansen's claim that the man was unvaccinated at face value. But Hansen promoted an even bigger piece of misinformation, namely that the Texas man died from Omicron. On December 20th, 2021, 2 days before Hansen's article was published, Harris County, Texas County Judge Lina Hidalgo, the most powerful elected official in one of the most populous counties in the United States, announced the first death from the Omicron variant in the US. This was just as Americans were preparing to travel for the holidays and see their families and weren't sure what to think of this new variant. Despite reports from South Africa that Omicron was mild and saw a huge decrease in hospitalizations, Lina Hidalgo poured gas on a national frenzy. Her claim went viral in virtually every mainstream media outlet in the country. I saw articles saying the death was from COVID and others with COVID, so I decided to investigate. I called Harris County Public Health, and it turns out that they couldn't say the death was from COVID. Here's my phone call.
We cannot confirm that the patient died from COVID, but we can say that he was Omicron positive at the time of his death.
So he died with COVID, but you can't say that he died from COVID.
Correct.
So unless Nate Hansen can produce evidence, there is none showing that the Texas man died from Omicron. Nonetheless, his fact check was published 2 days after my call. Hansen says he called Harris County Public Health, but apparently he didn't bother to ask which claims being circulated in the media were correct. Did the Texas man die from Omicron, as Lina Hidalgo claimed, or with the virus? These are two very different things with major implications. There have been numerous cases like this Florida man who died in a motorcycle wreck but was labeled a COVID death. Technically, he could be said to have died with COVID, even though that's obviously misleading because it's very unlikely to have had anything to do with his death unless COVID caused his motorcycle to crash. But we never would have said a cold or any other respiratory virus was responsible for a motorcycle or vehicular accident before March 2020. Back to the Nate Hansen article. After promoting that evidence-free claim that the Texas man died from Omicron, he then cites Pfizer and Moderna press releases that promote booster shots, almost like there's an agenda to promote vaccination even if it demands fudging the facts. Nate Hansen's employer is called VerifyTHIS. It calls itself a fact-checking operation that says its, quote, mission is to stop the spread of false information. It was launched in 2015 and expanded in 2021, tapping former McClatchy and Washington Post audiovisual whiz Jonathan Forsythe as managing editor, with the goal of combating disinformation. According to its website, VerifyTHIS works with 49 newsrooms across the country, so it doesn't appear to be a marginal operation. VerifyTHIS is owned by Tegna, one of the largest owners of local news stations in the United States. It operates 64 television and 2 radio stations across 54 US markets, local Fox, CBS, ABC affiliates. You might presume some ideological diversity among those channels, but they're all owned by the same corporation. Tegna's website says it reaches approximately 39% of all TV households nationwide. Nate Hansen's factually inaccurate fact check was published on the website of dozens of these Tegna-owned media outlets across the country, from Phoenix, Arizona to Washington, D.C., Denver, Colorado, and Tampa, Florida. Those are just a few examples of the cities that were subjected to this misinformation. The comments on the articles are telling. Some pointed out that the article doesn't even bother to mention whether the Texas man had underlying conditions, an important point. And others blamed the Texas man for his own death because he was supposedly unvaccinated. Here's the rub. Among the members of Tegna's board of directors is a woman named Lydia Fonseca. Lydia Fonseca is also executive vice president and chief digital and technology officer of Pfizer. Yes, Lydia Fonseca is a member of the boards of directors of both Tegna and Pfizer, a position that pays her quite well. SEC filings show that in 2021, Tegna paid Fonseca $228,750. This is a blatant conflict of interest. A member of the board of directors that oversees a supposed fact-checking operation about vaccines is an executive at the biggest vaccine manufacturer. So how does Tegna handle this? Tegna's ethics policy page states that, quote, directors, officers, and employees will not have any outside interest, investment, or business relationship that dilutes their loyalty to Tegna or dedication to the principle of a free and impartial press. In January 2019, when Fonseca was hired at Pfizer, she had to submit a procedural resignation letter to Tegna, but the Tegna board of directors determined that her new role with Pfizer wasn't a conflict of interest at all, but actually enhanced her ability to contribute to Tegna's mission. They said that Ms. Fonseca's new role with Pfizer would enhance the substantial data analytics and information technology expertise that she contributes to the board. Tegna investigated itself and found nothing wrong. It's one hand washing the other. This media giant has been connected to Pfizer for several years. From 2014 to 2017, Lydia Fonseca was a member of the board of directors at Gannett, Tegna's predecessor. Gannett is the largest U.S. newspaper publisher. It runs 100 daily newspapers and nearly 1,000 weekly newspapers in 43 U.S. states and 6 countries. But Tegna's ties to Pfizer aren't just through a single person. Tegna's 2 top owners are BlackRock and the Vanguard Group, 2 of the biggest hedge funds in the world. BlackRock and Vanguard are also 2 of the top 3 owners of Pfizer. Tegna and Pfizer are both corporations whose mission is to generate profit for their investors in BlackRock and Vanguard Group. They're basically 2 heads of the same animal. It's impossible to separate their interests. Even if Lydia Fonseca resigned from her position for this obvious conflict of interest, the media corporation and pharmaceutical corporation would still be joined at the hip. It's not just the corporations. Another member of Tegna's board of directors is Susan Ness, former FCC commissioner and now fellow at the German Marshall Fund, a U.S. government and NATO-funded think tank. There's no real separation between corporations, mass media, and the U.S. government. Despite the appearance, the corporate state is a single entity, and the fact-checkers are actually narrative managers who are willing to abandon facts in order to get their checks.